the CHCH television system, this is Newsroom, late edition.
I'm Dan McLean. Good evening, everyone. Cuts and slashes came fast and furious after city politicians learned they had to contend with an 8.5% budget increase over last year. We get details from Bob Ireland.
The city's finance committee was hit with bad news today. It was told by City Treasurer Ed Matthews that the final budget would be 8.5% higher than last year, and that by dipping into reserves, he could only get it down to 7.9%. City Council had decreed earlier this year that the budget could not exceed 5%. So committee members sharpened their knives and began slashing with a vengeance. The Finance Committee itself will have to shave $750,000 from its budget. Transport and Environment was advised to cut out $200,000. Personnel will have to pare down its budget by $150,000. The Legislation Committee was told to trim expenses by $75,000. And the committee will be telling Hamilton Place to be responsible for half of its current $80,000 deficit. All other city departments will be asked to look for ways to reduce their budgets and to reconsider new programs. All the cuts made today add up to a savings of $1.1 million, if they can be achieved.
We hope to. There was good discussion at the Finance Committee. A lot of programs, expenditures were mentioned, and it's possible, yes.
If all these proposed budget cuts do go through, it would mean that city taxes would go up about 6%, or about $20 for the average homeowner. At City Hall, Bob Ireland, TV 11 Newsroom.
Well, cat lovers are fuming at a City Hall proposal that would force cats to be licensed, but the SPCA doesn't think it's such a bad idea. Details from Scott Urquhart.
It's no joke. Last year, the Hamilton SPCA picked up 5,818 stray cats. Only 132 were reclaimed by their owners. 5,188 were destroyed. Animal Shelter Director Jim Bando says that terrible total could be drastically reduced if only the SPCA had some way to track down cat owners. That's where a new cat control bylaw from City Hall comes in. Cat owners would be required to produce a certificate of vaccination and pay a $5 licensing fee to get a cat permit and tag. The law would give the society the authority to pick up strays and some record to help determine their ownership, as well as increasing the number of cats that would be vaccinated against rabies.
It's going to be a gradual process. I don't visualize that we're going to be chasing cats this year, nor do I visualize that every cat in the city will be licensed in the next 2 years. That isn't the point. I think we have to start somewhere.
But there are critics of the scheme, most notably Alderman Ian Stout.
It's unenforceable, and I think any government that makes a law that they know beforehand is unenforceable is a stupid government.
Alderman Stout isn't the only person having a hard time taking this issue seriously. A Toronto newscaster finished his report on the story this morning with this line. There are an estimated 35,000 cats in Hamilton. I'm told not one of them can play football. Almost funny, but Jim Bandow doesn't laugh when he has to kill almost 100 cats a week. In Hamilton, this is Scott Urquhart reporting.
More than 100 people were taken to hospital in Toronto today after a tear gas canister went off at York University. Police questioned 2 people, but as yet, no charges have been laid.
102 people, most of them students and faculty, were treated for eye and throat irritation at several area hospitals after a tear gas canister labeled 7A3 Riot CS gas exploded in a ground floor corridor in the Ross building. That's the main administration building at York University's Keele Street campus. At the spot the canister exploded, I talked with university electrician Peter Finch. He pulled the fire alarm at about 20 minutes past 1 o'clock this afternoon.
I noticed the smoke coming out of the building, so I dashed back to the elevator. I pulled the fire alarm panel down there and I dashed outside. So people coming out of the building, throwing up on the grass and perspiring, and their eyes are running. And that's the last I saw of it. I dashed outside and everybody cleared the building at once almost.
A member of the Metro Toronto Police Emergency Task Force says only once in 100 years is someone fatally wounded by tear gas. The dust particles that make up the gas are irritating to the tear ducts and sweat glands. Over 15 ambulances and some buses were used to take the students and staff to hospitals in the area. North York Fire Chief Val DeLore summoned 8 pieces of firefighting equipment to the scene.
Most of these students were evacuated. There were still some students that stayed in their rooms, closed the door, and stayed there because of the smoke and fumes that were given off by the tear gas, which is very irritating to the throat and the eyes. And if you have, like, say, asthma or bronchitis, respiratory problem, it would even affect you more. Metro ambulance were on the scene and treated 50 here with the fire department crews with their resuscitators, giving the students oxygen. And there was 102 transported to the different hospitals in the area.
Stan Keys reporting.
Two Shell Canada officials returned to Halifax tonight after assessing the gas blowout aboard the rig Vinland off the coast of Seibel Island. They then began consultations with two well control experts from Texas. The Vinland is still spewing a plume of natural gas almost 24 hours after the well blew out and forced the evacuation of 70 crew members. A father of two children suffered a heart attack during the evacuation. He died today. Just 4 years ago, Chrysler was teetering on the verge of bankruptcy. Today, the number 3 automaker reported its largest profits ever. The company made more than $700 million last year. The Lebanese have a poor record of making fires last, but it appears they are going to try again starting tomorrow. A Saudi negotiator says a truce has been arranged. It's only a ceasefire and not the political issues dividing Lebanon's Christian and Muslim communities. Tonight we reported that Houston's bubble boy David had died. Today his doctors fought back tears as they told the world that David's death may contribute significantly to medical research.
Doctors fought back the tears as they reported on David's death.
Was as unique as his life was.
The results of the autopsy were a complete surprise. It found hundreds of abnormal growths in David's lungs and spleen. Doctors suspect cancer.
At this point, we do not know whether this abnormal of B lymphocytes were malignant or not. Tests will be performed over the next weeks.
Life, David taught the world of medicine much of what it knows about immune defense. Doctors say his death could be in cancer research and may save lives.
Because information